Hello everyone, welcome back to Cipher. Tonight, we explore one of the most chilling disappearances ever recorded. A real-life mystery that has haunted Canada for nearly a century. Imagine walking into a village and finding everything left behind. Food on the table, clothes drying by the fire, sled dogs frozen in the snow, but no people anywhere. This is the terrifying true story of the missing village of Lake Anjikuni, a place that simply vanished from the face of the earth. Our story begins in November 1930, in the frozen wilderness of northern Canada. The region was isolated, with temperatures often dropping below freezing and thick snow blanketing the land. A fur trapper named Joe LaBelle, a seasoned outdoorsman familiar with the area, was traveling toward Lake Anjikuni, a remote Inuit settlement he had visited many times before. LaBelle was cold, exhausted, and hungry. As night began to fall, he looked forward to resting in the small, friendly village by the lake. The people of Anjikuni were known for their hospitality, often sharing stories and warm meals with travelers passing through. But this time something felt wrong. As Joe approached the outskirts of the village, he noticed an eerie silence. Normally, he would hear the barking of dogs, the crackle of fires, and voices echoing through the cold air. But now, there was nothing. Just the sound of the wind. He saw no movement, no smoke rising from chimneys. Still, he assumed the villagers were inside, escaping the cold. But when he entered the first hut, he froze in disbelief. The cooking pot was still warm, stew simmering as if someone had just left moments ago. Clothes were laid out neatly, and rifles were propped up by the door. But there was no one inside. He checked another hut, and another, and found the same thing. Everything perfectly in place, but every person gone. Joe LaBelle called out, shouting names he remembered. His voice echoed across the icy village, but no one answered. A deep unease settled over him. He felt as though he was being watched, but from where, or by whom he couldn't tell. Outside, he found the villagers' sled dogs lying in the snow, all dead, starved to death, still tied to their posts. The sight was gruesome. These dogs were the community's lifeline. No one would have abandoned them willingly. Even stranger, the food supplies were untouched. The villagers had plenty of preserved meat and fish. Why would they leave behind everything? Food, weapons, clothing, in the middle of winter. LaBelle's fear grew. He quickly made his way to the nearby telegraph office to send a message to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police (RCMP). Within days, officers arrived and began their investigation. What they found only deepened the mystery. The RCMP confirmed that the village was completely deserted. There were no signs of struggle, no footprints leading away, no blood, and no signs of violence. It was as if every man, woman, and child had walked into the air and disappeared. The investigators checked the nearby frozen lake, thinking perhaps the villagers had fallen through thin ice, but they found nothing. Then came an even more disturbing discovery. The village cemetery. Several graves had been dug up. The bodies were missing. No one could explain why anyone would disturb the dead, or where the bodies had gone. As word of the event spread, other witnesses began to come forward. A trapper traveling several miles from Anjikuni claimed to have seen strange blue lights in the sky the same night the village disappeared. He described them as glowing orbs, moving silently across the northern horizon, not like stars or meteors, but deliberate, controlled lights. Soon, the story reached newspapers across Canada and the United States. Journalists called it the vanished village of the North. Some speculated it was an alien abduction. Others thought it was a government cover-up of a military experiment gone wrong. Some even whispered that it was the work of ancient spirits, angered by outsiders disturbing sacred land. But official explanations never satisfied anyone. One theory suggested the villagers fled due to famine or disease, yet their food supplies were untouched, and there were no signs of illness. Another idea was that they had moved to a nearby settlement, but the RCMP checked all known Inuit communities. None had seen or heard from the missing villagers. Years later, skeptics claimed that the entire story was exaggerated, possibly created by journalists to sell papers during the 1930s. They argued that records of the RCMP investigation were inconsistent or incomplete. But even if the story was embellished, too many details remained unexplained. especially the testimonies of early witnesses who described the scene in chilling detail. Some historians believe something truly did happen at Lake Anjikuni, but what it was remains a mystery. Could a sudden natural disaster have forced the villagers to flee? An avalanche, perhaps, or a flash freeze. But even then there were no footprints, no bodies, no remains. Others have proposed something far stranger, that the people of Anjikuni were somehow pulled into another dimension, a time slip or energy field in that remote region. One Inuit elder once said that the land around Lake Anjikuni was sacred, a place where the spirits walk between worlds. Some say the villagers were taken by those spirits. Others believe it was something from the sky, those mysterious blue lights that took them away. Over the decades, paranormal researchers have visited the site, but little evidence remains. The old huts have long collapsed, and the wilderness has reclaimed the land. Yet those who travel there say they can still feel an odd stillness in the air, as if the land remembers what happened. Some claim to hear faint whispers at night, or see small orbs of light drifting over the frozen lake. Whether a myth, a misunderstanding, or a true event lost to time, the story of Lake Anjikuni continues to haunt the imagination. A whole village vanished without a trace, leaving behind only silence and questions that will likely never be answered. So, what do you think? Was it aliens, spirits, or something even stranger? Let us know in the comments below. And remember, the world is full of places where the impossible seems to happen. Sometimes, it's not what we can see that's most terrifying. It's what we can't. Thank you for watching Moon Cipher. If you love mysterious disappearances, haunted places, and stories that defy reason, make sure to subscribe, because we uncover a new mystery every week.